Youorns. Greetings, fellow Watford fans. Omar here with another edition of the YouOrns 10-minute take on Southampton 3, Watford 2. Yeah, this was a very difficult game to take for Watford. The result, at least, was because Watford in this game, well, they really went through a roller coaster ride. Watford, literally 50 seconds into the game, found themselves down 1-0 through Will Smallbone. And Watford's defense didn't recover because about 20 minutes after that, TDB could not clear the ball adequately enough. In fact, the whole defense seemed to be very static on that second goal. And it was a thank you very much finish from a Southampton player to double their lead early on. So after 21 minutes, Watford found themselves down 2-0. And undaunted, Watford, undaunted, made their way back into this contest. Just a few moments after that goal was scored, Asprilla went on the attack, looking lethal, looking lively, and looking very luminous indeed. He scored a couple of goals earlier in this season that have been very sublime, including the one against Norwich, which was the last time Watford lost away in the Championship. Although Watford did not score through Mr. Asprilla today, he certainly came very close with a couple of long runs and some good shots at the end and some good end product in this match from Watford, which had been missing of late. And then Ryan Porteous made sure that end product was not a problem at all with a shot just outside the 18-yard box that was deflected into the back of the Saints net to halve the arrears on the stroke of 34 minutes or so. And so Watford got themselves a lifeline, and then they began to grow and hang on to that and ride it for all it was worth until the halftime mark, where we went in down 2-1. It's the first time Watford had been down under Cleves in this game. And of course, Watford showed some resiliency and spirit in the second half. The first 10 to 15 minutes of these second halves are always the most important for me in a game, especially when you've come into the game, whether you've come in as a loser in the first half or on level terms or leading in the first half. The first 10 to 15 minutes of a second half, no matter where you are, home or away, are critical. Obviously, so are the last 10 to 15, but the first 10 to 15 dictate the tempo. Who is it going to be that begins to boss this game, that begins to lay the foundation in this game, that dictates the tempo of the game, the rhythm of the game, the flow of the game? Which team is going to take that to the opposition and do it first? And the answer was Watford. They were the ones who came out on the front foot. They were the ones in the ascendancy. They were the ones with the forward-thinking mentality. And it paid off for them finally in the 81st minute or thereabouts when Ismail Kone, a substitute, came on for Watford. And did he ever go on gangbusters? Watford controlled most of the second half. But the thing is, before Kone scored the goal he scored, Southampton should have been up 3-1. The referee in this game was appalling. I think I've said that already. And if I haven't, I'm going to say it multiple times during the rest of this video that you're watching, because the referee was appalling. And the referee gave offside to Southampton when they were actually onside. Wesley Hood, a former Southampton player no less, playing on the Southampton player that scored the goal that would have made it a 3-1 game at that point. Less than 5.5 minutes later, it was that man Kone, the substitute, who scored the equalizing goal. What would have been 3-2 ended up being 2-2, and Watford were absolutely in this game and looked to me to be the only team that was going to go on and kick on and win the game. That did not happen. Watford did push, Watford prodded, Watford probed, but Watford could not get that third goal. That's not the reason why they lost the game, though. The reason they lost the game is that there was a very very questionable referee, who, by the way, was appalling. The EFL's got to look at that. And yes, Watford's defending at the very beginning of the game and the very end of the game was poor. But when you give 7 minutes as your injury time extra, and then you add another 3 to that, and in those extra 3 minutes, you get a player given a foul against him, which really wasn't much of a foul, if anything at all. And all of a sudden, you've got a Southampton player who handles the ball in the Watford box and then uses that handball to control the ball and then smash the ball past Daniel Batman from 2 yards out. That is what's called daylight robbery. And where are you, Ronnie Biggs, when you're needed? Where are you? Somebody call Ronnie Biggs. Ronnie Biggs is no longer with us. But Ronnie Biggs would have been proud of that robbery that took place today. I don't know if Ronnie Biggs was a Watford fan, but still, this was a robbery for Watford. They absolutely got robbed in this match. And again, it's not to say that the defending wasn't poor in that final moment, but it shouldn't have even had to come down to that, because when you look back at the replays, there's no way that they should even have given any kind of kick for Southampton off of Rajovic. They absolutely got this one wrong. And there needs to be VAR. As flawed as VAR is, or at least as flawed as the officials who utilize it are, VAR needs to be implemented in the championship. This could end up costing teams chances to get promoted, and it could end up costing other teams chances to stay in the division. And with stakes like that being as high as they obviously are, it really does reemphasize the need to have this technology, not just in the championship and the Premier League, which already has it, not just in the championship, but in all the divisions of English football. Because yes, it's probably very expensive to do this in all 92 grounds, all, I should say, 70 odd grounds in the EFL, but it needs to be done. It really needs to be done. Certainly in the championship it does, because again, and it could, and as I say, for all 4 leagues, because it really does end up costing teams things. You might say that this was poetic justice for Watford because the goal was disallowed when it shouldn't have been for Southampton, that would have made it 3-1 minutes before. But the bottom line is that in a situation like this at the end of a contest, to not see a blatant handball, that's really ridiculous. And of course, the offside might have been more difficult to spot, certainly than a handball. But VAR would have seen that, hopefully, and would have put that right, and Watford would have got out of there today with a point. But look, it's not all about that final moment. It's about the character of this Watford side. It's about the confidence of this Watford side. And it's about the absolute clinical abilities of this side. I am so proud of these lads today. They did an excellent job out there in a very, very difficult terrain to play on against the Southampton side, who had some good moments, but looked rather ordinary for large spells of this contest, especially in the second half. And a Southampton side whose fans were booing them literally about 10 to 15 minutes before they actually would score that goal that they scored. Southampton are probably going to end up getting promoted here somewhere along the line. Maybe through the playoffs is probably where it's going to be. But they'll look back at this game, I think, and feel fortunate that they got 3 points from it, because they were by far the second best team in the second half of this game. And certainly, if you look at the final match statistics, we had more shots on target than they did. If you look at the final statistics, Watford were much busier and much more aggressive. Watford were composed, confident, and they had character. Those are the 3 C's. Character, composure, and confidence. I'll add a 4th, Clevs. You have to make Tom Cleverley the new head coach at this football club that you and I love. You have to make him the head coach for next season. And you need to announce that sometime this week before the match against Hull City, so that we all know what next season is going to look like with the head coach, at least to start next season. Let's do that now. Take the interim tag off. Let's not pretend. This man has to be the next manager of this football club. End of. Tom Cleverley has got to have that job. The confidence the character, the composure. He knows the club. I've said it a million times. He knows the team, the players. He's played alongside them. He knows the Watford system through and through. You don't need to go anywhere else now. The search is over. Your head coach is here right now. Stick with him and stick with some kind of plan to give this side the building blocks and make sure that you do that in the summer. Because these performances are not on the beach performances. These performances are performances of a group of players who actually care about their football, who've got the character and the courage and the resilience to fight back from 2-0 down as they did today and get themselves into position to try to get a point here. They did everything they could. And so, listen, I will never, ever fail to give credit where it's due. And when the Watford cause goes as well as it did today, except for, of course, the final moments, you have to stand up and absolutely salute the Golden Boys today and every day, especially when they put in a performance like this, and especially when they go through the ringer at the hands of a very, very incompetent referee. Absolutely shocking ref today. This has been the YouOrns 10-minute take.